Have you ever felt like you're working endlessly, but still not getting the results you want in your life or career? Like you're putting in 100% effort, but only seeing 10% progress? Here's the truth. It's not about how hard you work. It's about what you focus on. And that's where the 80-20th rule, also called the Pareto Principle, becomes a game changer. Today, I'm going to share with you how to use this powerful rule to transform your productivity, your career, your personal growth, and even your relationships, so you can focus on what really matters and start living the life you actually want. Section 1. Understanding the 80-20th rule. The 80-20th rule is simple but profound. 80% of results come from 20% of efforts. This means that not all your actions, tasks, or habits have the same impact. A small portion of what you do creates the majority of your outcomes. Think about it. 20% of your customers generate 80% of your business revenue. 20% of your study habits lead to 80% of your exam success. 20% of your relationships bring you 80% of your happiness. Yet most people waste time on the other 80% that doesn't truly move the needle. This principle is not just about math, it's a mindset shift. When you recognize it, you stop treating everything as equally important and start focusing on the few things that truly create transformation. Section 2. The 80-20th rule in life. How does this apply to your personal life? Look at your happiness. Are there 2 or 3 people who make you feel alive, supported, and valued? They might only be 20% of your contacts, but they give you 80% of your joy. Focus on nurturing those bonds instead of spreading yourself thin. Think about your habits. Maybe it's 2 or 3 small routines like exercising, journaling, or meditating that give you most of your energy, clarity, and confidence. Those are your 20%. Protect them fiercely. Even your environment follows this rule. 20% of your surroundings, your desk, your bedroom, your digital space, can determine 80% of how productive or peaceful you feel. When you start identifying what your 20% is, you gain clarity. You free yourself from the noise of things that don't matter. Section 3. The 80-20th rule in career and work. Now, let's apply this principle to your career. 1. Tasks and productivity. Not all tasks are equal. Replying to emails or sitting in meetings might eat 80% of your time, but only produce 20% of results. On the other hand, a few high-impact tasks, like building skills, solving big problems, or networking with key people, bring 80% of progress. 2. Skill development. You don't need to master everything. 20% of skills make you valuable in the workplace. Think about it: communication, critical thinking, problem solving, and adaptability. When you invest in these, your career skyrockets. 3. Networking and relationships. Not every connection matters equally. A handful of mentors, colleagues, or industry contacts can open 80% of the doors you need. Focus on building those deep, meaningful professional relationships instead of chasing hundreds of surface-level connections. 4. Business and entrepreneurship. If you're running a business or side hustle, recognize that 20% of your products or services create 80% of your revenue. Double down on what works. Don't spread yourself too thin. Section 4. Breaking free from the 80% trap. Here's the challenge. Most people spend their lives stuck in the 80% tasks, people, and habits that drain energy but add little value. Why? Because the 80% feels safe. It's easier to respond to emails than to work on your dream project. It's easier to hang out with casual friends than to nurture deep bonds. It's easier to binge on distractions than to practice the habits that build your future. But here's the secret. Success belongs to those who dare to live in the 20%. Section 5. How to apply the 80-20th rule step by step. Here's how you can bring this principle into your life and career. 1. Identify the 20%. Ask yourself, which tasks produce the biggest results? Which relationships bring me the most joy and growth? Which habits give me the highest return on energy? 2. Eliminate or delegate the 80%. Stop glorifying busyness. Learn to say no to low-value tasks. Automate or delegate where you can. Free up your time for the 20%. 3. Double down on the 20%. Put your best energy, focus, and time into the activities that create the most impact. Protect your 20% like it's sacred. 4. Review regularly. Your 20% may change as you grow. Check in every month or quarter. Ask, am I still focused on what really matters? Section 6. Real-life examples of the 80-20th rule. Bill Gates focused on building Microsoft's core software instead of chasing every tech trend. One product, Windows, drove 80% of Microsoft's success. Warren Buffett, 90% of his wealth comes from a few key investments. He doesn't diversify across hundreds of stocks. He bets on the vital few. Steve Jobs cut down Apple's product line from dozens to just a handful of powerful products. That 20% built Apple into the giant it is today. If the greatest leaders, entrepreneurs, and thinkers have lived by the 80-20th rule, why shouldn't you? Section 7. The 80-20th rule for inner growth. This principle isn't only for external success. It's also for your inner growth. 20% of your thoughts drive 80% of your emotions. Focus on gratitude, vision, and purpose instead of fear, doubt, and comparison. 20% of your time spent in silence, meditation, or prayer can create 80% of your inner peace. 20% of the books you read or mentors you follow may give you 80% of your wisdom. Choose carefully what you feed your mind and soul. Section 8. Turning the rule into a lifestyle. When you live by the 80-20th rule, life feels lighter. You stop chasing everything and start choosing deliberately. You no longer try to please everyone. You nurture the few relationships that matter. You don't burn yourself out with endless tasks. You master the few that drive success. This is not about doing less. It's about doing better. So let me ask you today, what is your 20%? What are the few actions, relationships, and habits that truly matter in your life and career? The moment you discover them and commit to them, everything changes. You'll work less but achieve more. You'll stress less but live more fully. You'll stop being busy and start being effective. Remember, life is short. Don't waste it on the 80% that doesn't matter. Focus on the 20% that will define your destiny. If this message inspired you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And don't just listen, act. Choose your 20% and start living it now.